It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman. This is the Forum on Eagle TV. It's great to have you watching along. We're going to talk about flying. We're going to talk about the Hays Airport, and our guest is a brand new airport manager at the Hays Regional Airport. His name is Ovid Seifers, and just took the job November 7th, and so we'll be talking about that. Our program is brought to you by Hays Med. Ovid, it's good to have you on our program.
Pleased to be here.
You know what, it was, I looked at your name and we were talking earlier, it's very original, but it's the first time I've ever used that combination of syllables. Tell me about yourself. Where did you come from?
I am a native of Wilson, Kansas, graduated from Wilson High School in 1965, and then went into the Air Force for 4 years, and then back to Kansas City, and stayed there for 35 years, and then moved out to near Vail, Colorado for the past 13.
Well, it's fun to have you here because when I was looking at your resume, a lot of times when you have, I'll say, regional airports in rural parts of the country, you have young or newer airport managers who take those positions, and we've had one. Nathan did a terrific job at the airport. You come with some wonderful experience, not only at Kansas City International Airport. I think you also were at the downtown airport in Kansas City.
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. And then most recently at the Eagle Vale Airport. So if anybody's flown out there and dodged the mountains to get into Eagle Vale, they may have run into you there. That's a great career. Tell me about those different jobs.
Well, it's something that's in your blood. It's kind of like people have farming in their blood or flying, what have you. It's a career field I have truly enjoyed from day one, and I still enjoy it just as much. Provides great job satisfaction, provides a place to be constructive and have a vision of things in the future, and to work with people and help the flying public. But it's just truly enjoyable. I've always enjoyed every day, and I've enjoyed every day since I've been here.
Now, you're not new to Hays because you grew up in Wilson, but when you first drove in and saw the Hays Airport, thinking about doing this job, what has been your impression of the Hays Airport so far?
I was very impressed when I did the interview here, but I had seen the airport a number of times in previous years, driving through Hays or seeing my brother. I actually landed at Hays in 1968 in a Frontier Convair 580.
It looked a little different back
Yes,
then
it
at the
did.
airport. Now when you go out there, you look, I see when it has the fire station right there as you drive in, but the other part of it, traveling around, is that something airport managers do every time you get a chance to go on the old highway and take a look at an airport? Do you drive around, take a look at airports and compare notes that way?
Yes.
So like farmers drive by the neighbor's field and take a look at
Yes.
what's out there?
Drive by Russell Airport occasionally every couple, 3 years.
So
at
from
least.
a critical eye, what do you look for when you look at an airport?
How it's maintained, how the grass is cut, how the facility is maintained. That's how you can tell how well an airport's run. Is it professional or is it just getting by?
Well, you know, you look at some things that most people don't see. Being a pilot, things like lighting is really important. If you have to come in at night, you want to make sure when you click, those lights come on. You also want to make sure that the runway is in good condition, but the general public usually doesn't see that because they're not landing on the runway, they're just driving by at a distance. So that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you probably come with when you look at those bigger city airports is a bigger staff at those places. That's a little different than what you're going to deal with here as well, correct?
Considerably. Kansas City Aviation Department had approximately 400 employees total. At one time had a staff of 100 at KCI in field maintenance and fleet maintenance. And at Richards Bauer, that was down to about 40 at one time, and at downtown airport it was only about 15. But you had the same requirements pretty much at all of them. And Eagle, we only had 10.
So what are requirements? Mowing is one, obviously. You got to keep the grass down because you want to, when you land, you don't want to hit something. You want to have clear vision. But what else is an airport manager responsible for?
Well, commercial carrier airports such as Eagle is, Part 139 that the FAA calls it, you have certain standards you have to meet to continue operating commercial air service. And if you don't meet those requirements, you lose your certificate, and the commercial air service is gone. Totally.
And that means they can't fly not only today, but they can't land the plane, correct? If you have
No.
something wrong?
No, they cannot come in here with passengers at all. The only time a commercial carrier could land here if it was an in-flight emergency or a ferry flight, but could not continue to operate carrying passengers to or from Hayes or divert to Hayes.
Well, one of the things that's important, because most of the time when you're a passenger on the plane, we have a great airline service right now with United coming in and out of Hayes. But you sure hate to get on the airport in Denver on your way home and then find out something's not right so they can't fly. And by law, they can't.
That's correct. Smaller airports have some difficulty. A lot of times you don't have a control tower at a lot of these places, so that changes things. So you're dependent more on the FAA nav aids, and you don't have an FAA maintenance person right in town. Hayes' maintenance person with the FAA is actually in Garden City, so that's a little bit of a drive to and from. And it has occurred over the past weekend. We had a problem with the automatic weather observation service, and the malfunction was in the altimeter.
I know about that one.
Yes, and if we hadn't taken that and made our own observations legally and safely, we would have lost 4 flights in a row there over the weekend. So it's way different than the big airports don't have to deal with that. The FAA takes care of everything like that.
You know, coming back the other day, I was coming back and it was missing. It was missing on the way out, and I kind of wondered how that happened or what you did. And if you take your own readings, then you have the ability to do that when you're a private pilot. You can compare other airports in the area, and if it's not critical weather, but that's part of that automated service
Yes.
that we offer out here, and you're responsible for that. What about the big things like the ILS, the VOR, all of the technology that sets out at that airport? Because that's one of the things that makes an airport, I guess, available to the regional carriers, is that they have a lot of
Well,
those.
you have to have that. The ILS localizer is maintained by the FAA, again, from the individual in Garden City, and the VOR is maintained by that same individual, the FAA in Garden City. The city does not maintain any of those actual nav aids, nor does that occur anywhere else. However, in Eagle, we did maintain the snow VOR and owned it and had to maintain it, which is quite a rare event to see that occur. So,
Well, Ovid, it's good to have you here on the program. We're going to come back and talk about why it's important to fly Hayes. And I hear there's a fence going up. It's not a wall, it's a fence. We'll hear about that when we come back. Our guest is Ovid Seifers. He's the new airport manager at Hayes Regional Airport. Back with more after this from Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
The most exciting yards in football. It's NFL Red Zone from NFL Network. Get every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon. And football doesn't stop on NFL Network. It goes all week.
We're covering it like crazy.
Get NFL Red Zone from NFL Network today.
Add NFL Red Zone so you can watch all the game-defining yards in football. Call us at 877-61-EAGLE today.
Welcome back to the second half of our program here on Eagle TV. Our program is brought to you by Hayes Med, and I always remind you, and sometimes people take me up on this, sometimes they don't, but if you have a program you'd like to hear it, you'd like somebody I'd like to talk to, send me a note, gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. I'd sure like to hear from you. And also go over on Facebook. You'll find us under ECTV Forum. ECTV Forum. I'd like to hear from you. Our guest is Ovid Seifers, and he is the new airport manager right here in Hayes at the Hayes Regional Airport. Been on the job since November 7th. We were talking about a couple of things coming into this break. First off, before we ask those important questions, are you a pilot? Or do you just take
pilot previously.
a student pilot?
The private certificate's on my bucket list.
It is.
Yes.
Well, you have a good spot to learn that. Some
And
good
this will be the
instructors out
spot.
there. There's some good instructors out there that can help you get there because, you do a part, you take care of an airport so long, that's a whole nother thing than flying an airplane. And so being able to get out and do that would be a nice thing to your bucket list. Congratulations.
That's the first thing on my bucket
We'll
list.
have to have you out after you get that done. Talk about how exciting that is to do that. So, hey, when we went into the break, we talked about why it's important to fly Hayes. Why is it from your perspective? Because you're new, relatively new at your position here. But why should somebody go out and fly the Hayes Regional Airport?
One, the airport is a valuable economic aid. I call it an aid to the Hayes area. And if you don't fly the commercial carrier and they don't get sufficient monies or revenue, because it's an essential air service, it's on a little bit shaky ground anyway, and you use it or lose it's what it comes down to. And
So
you lose it, you don't get
it's
it
not
back.
guaranteed.
No, sir. Every 2 years, that's renewed.
So if you're out there, if you have a chance, what I'd find myself doing, I always check. You always just go and check and see if the flights are when you need to go and what you're doing. After the first of the year, the flights are going to change
Yes.
to early morning and late evening, which will make it much easier for a business traveler to
Correct.
be able to go in and out of town, get into Denver, and then get somewhere versus getting kind of hung up in that overnight thing in Denver, which is a little complicated and makes it, you would just want to drive somewhere. So that'll be happening first of the year. They have a website they can go to find out more about that, correct?
When you want to do reservations with SkyWest, you dial 1-800-UNITED-1.
1-800-UNITED-1, and they can get you hooked up with that as
They'll
well.
hook you up anywhere on their system.
All right, what about the new fence or wall? Are you building a wall?
No, we're building a fence.
A fence.
It
Tell
will
me
be-
about your fancy fence.
That fancy fence is a requirement by the FAA now for wildlife mitigation and control, and it's also for security, but the primary reason is wildlife, and as anybody in this area most likely knows, there are considerable numbers of deer in the area. And deer and aircraft don't mix anywhere. Hoofed animals don't mix with aircraft anywhere. There have been many collisions with deer across the U.S. Alaska's had several moose aircraft collisions, and it's not a very good situation. So it's a safety issue primarily.
Well, I know there's been discussion, oh boy, we've gotten along for 100 years, without a fence, but yet you fly around other communities, you'll find, go down the names community that they have, especially where they're in areas, rural areas like our airport is here, where you'll see a big fence around to keep the deer
Yes.
mostly off of that and do that. Now, that is part of the FAA coming in that pays a chunk of that, correct?
The FAA will pay 90% of that cost. And at a larger airport, because they have much higher revenues, they will pay only 75%. But it's rather surprising to see Hayes really doesn't have a fence of that nature at all. So be a welcome improvement safety-wise. It's not cheap, but it's an investment, and that fence will be good for a minimum of 30, 35 years.
Well, when you take a look at that, that's one project. What other things are you looking at?
Well, we're looking at continue marketing on the air service so that Hayes is aware that driving to Denver isn't as cheap as one thinks. You got to figure what your time's worth, the depreciation on your car. You got to get to Denver hours early to make a flight. Not like here, you come in 15 minutes before and just walk up there through the TSA. You're spending hours sometimes in Denver. So what's your time valuable? But that's a long drive, frankly, 300 plus miles. You got to park in Denver. Yeah, here's another way to look at it. Hayes is one step away from Tokyo, London, Frankfurt, Munich, and many destinations in Mexico.
And you know what I found to add to that? It's the reverse as well. When you have people that want to come visit, whether it be for business or family, they're just one step away from being here
correct.
versus having to drive from, again, it's a long drive. I don't find the drive out to the airports as bad. as I do coming home. When you've had a
Yes.
long trip, you get in a car, now you're dodging animals on the road, all that sort of stuff that has to happen.
correct.
And it's a long 4 hours from Kansas City, a longer 5 hours when you're coming back from Denver to do that. So, airport, I know we have a brilliant new airport manager. Where do they go to find you? Because a lot of times people in Hayes like to share their wisdom with the airport manager. Where do they find you?
Find me at the airport terminal in the airport manager's office, or call me on the phone. But the office is always open, and it's not strictly a Monday through Friday operation. If it's sour weather in the winter, I will definitely be there then.
You'll be there as well.
Yes.
Ovid, good to have you in our community. Welcome back to Kansas after being gone for a few years. Growing up in Wilson, it's great to have somebody from that close back here taking care of things. We want to thank you for watching our program as well. Our guest has been Ovid Seifers, who is the new airport manager at the Hayes Regional Airport. Our program is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.